Hello, spooky crew. Our tote bag drawing is officially closed, and we just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who entered. We are so grateful for the love and the support, and we have loved reading your reviews. Missed the tote? No worries. We're still sending out high-quality vinyl stickers while supplies last. Just email us proof of your rating and review along with your mailing address to thespookydarlings@gmail.com, and we'll get one headed your way. Quick promise, your address is only for mailing the sticker. No emails, no selling info, no funny business, just spooky gratitude. Thanks again for supporting the show. You are the reason we do this. Hey, spooky friends, a quick note. This is part 2 of Haley's deep dive into the Enfield Haunting. If you have not listened to part 1 yet, go back and start there. Things will make a lot more sense. In part 2 of our investigation, we have more surprise visitors and the house cranks up the paranormal activity. But before we jump in, we've got something fun for you. We're running a little promo to say thank you for supporting the show. If you leave us a written review, we will mail you a free Spooky Darling sticker for your water bottle, laptop, cell phone case, anywhere you want to put it. All you have to do is write us a review on whatever platform you listen on, then email us a screenshot of your review plus your mailing address to thespookydarlings@gmail.com. In addition, anyone who claims their sticker prize will also be entered into a drawing for a free Spooky Darlings canvas tote bag. It's our way of sending you a little spooky love. Also, as sisters, we love our chats, and we banter a bit at the start of this episode. If that's not your jam, skip ahead about 3 minutes. Maybe 3 minutes and 30 seconds once I add this intro, although we do talk about Halloween candy, so you might not want to miss that. Now, grab a drink, settle in, and enjoy the finale of the Enfield Haunting.
You're listening to the Spooky Darlings podcast. We're 3 sisters that love hanging out and talking about the new hyperfixation we have. And this episode is part 2 of the Enfield Poltergeist. But before we get into the episode, sisters, is there anything new? Watching any good TV shows? Reading any good books?
Ooh. I finished What We Do in the Shadows with my daughters.
Oh, fun.
And when they realized that the episode we were watching was the very last episode of the series, halfway through, Natalie had like a mild panic attack. She went, wait, oh no, what? I didn't know. I mean, I knew that we were getting towards the end, but I didn't know.
She wasn't prepared.
She wasn't prepared. And so now both girls are like, what do we watch next together? And so Lola suggested RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh, fun.
And I was like, I'm pretty sure Natalie's already watched that. And Lola goes, no, she's a fake fan. She hasn't watched any of it. And then Lola started going, she didn't even know who Trixie Mattel was. Or, no, I don't know any of the characters. So I think that's going to be our next watch together. Although I thought about trying to get them to watch Bad Sisters with me.
Bad Sisters is fun. I feel like Search Party would be a fun one.
Oh, they probably really like Search Party.
Ooh, that show was so good.
Yeah, I love Search Party. I'd watch Search Party again. Also, I never finished Schitt's Creek. I would love to start Schitt's Creek from the beginning and watch the whole thing with my daughters.
I never finished it either.
Which is so weird because I'm such a fan.
I know.
But it's almost like
sometimes I get to the end of a show and I stop watching it because I don't want it to be over.
It's kind of like the center of the cinnamon roll. Like you eat around because you're so excited for that center, but then by the time you get to it, you're like, well, I'm so full. But then someone else comes along and goes, oh, can I have a bite? Ploop.
No.
Takes the center.
You don't get that.
That's never happened to me because I stopped caring.
I would probably have freaked out.
I care so much that I think about it like it's in my head often. Every time I eat a cinnamon roll, I have this battle. It's happened several times, many people.
They just take it?
I mean, there's an example recently of a friend that was in town and they were staying in Airbnb and the Airbnb supplied fresh made cinnamon rolls. And this friend heated one up for me despite my protest saying, oh, no, I'm just not really eating sugar right now. She still heated one up for me. And then I ate around the edge and then she came over and took the center.
No, I would have kicked her right in the crotch.
I couldn't because I'm not eating that much sugar.
You know what? Let this be a lesson to you. Eat the center. Start with the center.
I've done this since I was a kid.
Don't eat the edges to get to
Halloween
the center.
candy. I would eat all my Biddo honeys before I would let myself have anything delicious like Hershey's or like M&Ms or gummy candies because I felt like I wanted to eat the grossest stuff first. I do that still. I'll look at my apple bowl and I'll find the withered, most dented, most bruised apple. And eat that.
Stop it.
Because I feel like those ones have to be eaten first for some reason. I don't know why. It's a psychology thing.
Listen to me. No, they don't.
I'm messed up, man.
Well, anything else we want to talk about? Should we get to the episode?
I want to talk about part 2 of the Enfield Poltergeist.
Perfect, because that is the topic today. So, last episode, we covered how 2 members of the Society of Psychical Research, or the SPR, had begun investigating the house on Green Street, the Hodgson household. And a lot of what happened from early September when Maurice Gross and Guy Lyon Playfair began gathering evidence of the strange happenings at the house on Green Street.
Yes, and if you have not listened to part 1 yet of the Enfield Poltergeist, it's going to be the episode right before this, and you should go back and listen.
Go back and listen. So, just a few years earlier, The Exorcist was released in 1973. And when people went to see this movie, people vomited, passed out. Some people ran from the theater, and it had a far reach and influence.
The Exorcist.
The Exorcist, the movie. Could speculate that some of it fueled the satanic panic that gripped the US in the 80s, such as the McMartin preschool, where staff was falsely accused of abuse. And could it have had influence on the Enfield Poltergeist investigation? In my opinion, yes.
Have you seen The Exorcist?
Oh, years ago.
Have you seen The Exorcist, Emily?
Perchance? No.
The creepiest part is when she just comes into the living room downstairs and just pees right there on the floor. That's the creepiest part to me.
I watched it at a slumber party, and it was I was in 6th grade maybe at my friend Kelly Knowles, and her older sister was there. All the girls fell asleep, and the older sister had come down right before everyone fell asleep, and she's like, "We're watching The Exorcist." And then, I was trying to be cool. And she's like, "Will you guys watch it?" And some of the girls were like, "No, I don't really want to watch it." And then I was like, "I'll watch it." And then I was falling asleep through the whole movie. So mostly my memory of The Exorcist is her going, "Don't fall asleep on me now." And me being like, "I'm not." And then trying to wake up and just being like, "I'm so tired. I can't keep it. Oh, she's vomiting. Oh, her head just spinned all the way around," and falling asleep. So my memory of it is trying to battle staying awake.
It's just not really sleepy.
Not that it was scary. Continue.
So I've talked about the SPR and I've given a brief summary of their purpose, but let's talk a little bit more about who is in the Society of Psychical Research. SPR members were usually elderly men looking for proof of life after death. They were getting closer to the end, and, as humans they want to feel comfortable about what's coming next. So, with supernatural cases that were taken to the SPR, it was usually observe and report, maybe take some notes, and then they would confer with other members of the SPR. And so a man like Maurice Gross, who wants to take science, because he was an engineer, remember, he wants to take science and bring it to the SPR and then use that in his case studies. And so he was considered to be disruptive in this society and this group of people who are trying to look for evidence of life after death.
Because he's trying to find scientific explanations, they considered him disruptive.
Exactly. Yes. So Maurice was unique in the SPR because he didn't want to just observe and report. He recorded everything, listened to the recordings, the photographs that they all took, trying to recreate seemingly bizarre occurrences such as marbles flying around, marbles following Janet. And the box that hit Maurice in the face when he was doing those knocks, trying to get an answer from whatever entity it was. You remember the knocks were coming from all over the room.
I remember that, and I remember that in the movie. And I have a question. I don't remember it. The marbles following Janet.
Yeah.
Were they hovering in the air behind her, or were they rolling on the floor?
Rolling on the floor. Rolling on the floor, and then some marbles flew into the door that she closed behind her, and then remember they dropped to the floor and they did not bounce.
That's right. They dropped to the floor like almost like a
magnet,
gravitational force magnet pulled them.
Yes,
I remember. It's all coming back to me now.
So Maurice Gross and Guy Playfair, they would spend hours trying to recreate these occurrences. And so he did ruffle some feathers of the SPR members. He also piqued the interest of other members, and they came to investigate as well. So members of the SPR coming in and out of the house, questioning the kids over and over. There were a lot of names, so I didn't really want to get into naming everyone. But these kids are, so Janet and Margaret, they're laying in their beds with a group of men standing in their room that they do not know, asking a spirit or entity of sorts to react to them. One of these men even crawled into bed with the girls to witness activity. Now,
I don't like that.
The mother is in the room at the same time, and I kind of feel like they just were all a little bit like, I mean, we asked for people to come help us, so thank you for being here. Like,
Weird though.
So was he like just laying next to her? Or was he like, hey, cuddle?
No. There was no like cuddling or anything like that. And neither Margaret or Janet have reported like anyone being inappropriate with them, but that does seem inappropriate to me. So the kids are feeling irritated. They're not doing well at school. Janet is taking naps in the nurse's office, if you remember. And these guys it seems like they're kind of trying to bully the spirit, and barely anything happens. So these groups of men, they write it off. They leave. They're unimpressed. They're just like, Maurice and Guy, you guys are grasping at straws.
How
kind
long
of a thing.
were they there?
Maurice and Guy?
No,
this
group of men that
they would come in for an evening.
Oh, okay. And so just like like a couple evenings, and then they didn't see anything, and they're like, you guys are full of it.
Yeah,
and
just like, oh, whatever, crazy old Maurice.
Crazy old Maurice.
And so, which kind of seems to me just a little bit more like if they had been the ones doing the investigating, they would be like, look at all of this evidence. But because they weren't, I feel like it was a little bit of jealousy and coming in to just be like, you're wrong, and not giving any explanation as to like why they're wrong. Okay, so Peggy starts to
refresh my memory just real quick. Peggy is
the mother.
The daughters are Janet,
and who's the epicenter. She is 12 at this point,
and she's going through puberty.
Yep.
So so Peggy's the mom, Janet's the daughter, and then her sister's names are
Margaret, who's older. So it goes Margaret, 13.
Okay.
Janet now 12.
12.
Johnny, 10. Ooh, who was the other boy? Because the boys just aren't really mentioned.
Right. But they were involved in the activity.
Johnny
like the Lego thing
and Timmy?
I'd
have to scroll way back up to the top. It'll probably come up. I don't know.
I hope there are listeners going, it's,
email us.
The
spooky darlings at gmail.com. So a little bit of a recap. The events began on August 30th. Maurice arrived at the Hodgson house on September 5th. And now we are at Janet's 12th birthday, November 10th, 1977. And Guy and Maurice, they have grown close with this family, so they are invited to the birthday party. And these are also recorded, and so you can find the recordings. A kettle flies off the counter, and Maurice witnesses it. Janet is sitting on a chair in the living room. Like, her feet couldn't even touch the ground, sitting on this chair. The chair is thrown backwards, and multiple people of this family and Guy and Maurice saw this. And then the ottoman flips sideways.
Yeah, you can't. I don't know how anyone would like rig that up. You can't flip an ottoman with fishing line. Yeah. Or why would you flip a chair with a child in it? It just doesn't seem like it would be.
And in the recording, the kids are screaming, and you can hear Maurice telling everybody to calm down.
Oh, good. Good advice, Maurice.
Just a very English man, just being like, everybody, you're being emotional. So
let's keep our emotions in check. Or the way you said that reminded me of the guy from What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes.
Not Nandor, but the other guy.
Oh,
everybody stay calm.
Stay calm.
Oh, I love him. The one that is Jesse Daytona. Sorry, go on.
I know who you're talking about. I can't think of his name. So over time, just all of this chaos is starting to be their new normal. And so John, what?
Laszlo Cravensworth.
Laszlo.
Yes,
Laszlo. Oh, gosh, best characters. What a great show. Okay, I digress. We'll do a whole episode on What We Do in the Shadows later.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe
we can totally talk about it. So John Hasted, who is a physicist professor interested in psychical research. And so specifically it was people who could seemingly bend metal. And you know, those like shows in like the 70s where you just people like it was very popular.
Spoon bending and things. Yes,
bending.
I do remember seeing things like that.
So it was very popular around this time. It seemed like people could bend metal, aka the spoon, with the power of their mind. And the Hodgson kids were totally watching it, and bent spoons started showing up around the house. And Janet was saying she had done it. So John Hasted's assistant, David, was sent to see if Janet could bend metal. Using a tool called a strain gauge, which was connected to a metal spoon, and the gauge is connected to a chart recorder. Think of kind of like a lie detector test type of a setup. But
Okay.
the connectors are on the spoon, not a person. And it measures any bending in the metal. So Janet was sat down and asked to bend the metal. So the signals were building up in strength. And then the sensor physically bent and then broke.
The sensor, not
little
the spoon?
thing, the thing that makes the lines, the squiggly
So
lines.
the spoon was lying.
The spoon was a liar, and Janet, it seems, bent the sensor with no one touching the machine.
Weird.
Oh my
Crazy.
gosh, I want to be friends with her. How old is she now?
Oh, like in her 50s?
Oh, that's not too much older than me. We could be friends.
Janet! She seems lovely.
Janet, reach out to me. Let's be friends.
So the assistant is sure that Janet has the power to bend metal. And then this topic kind of is like the center of focus for the investigators and the family, and then it kind of just goes away. And on December 10th, 1977, Maurice arrives at 7:05 p.m. to hear a random whistling in the house. It wasn't just the bird, and yes, they have a pet bird they inherited from a neighbor who passed away, but none of the family members were whistling, and the whistling seems to come from Janet's direction. It was also said that with Janet's teeth that were very prominent in her mouth, there is no way that she could have been the one whistling. They said it with how her teeth were, it was impossible.
Did they say if it was it a melody or was it a one tone?
It was like kind of one tone. And if you go into our sisters chat, and we'll post these photos, not our sisters chat, our sisters notes. Here is Janet.
Oh,
you can see her
I
very
see.
prominent teeth.
Almost like she was a
though.
thumb sucker or something.
Yeah.
They just kind of stick out a little, or like her teeth grew before she did.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes,
She is
because
so
she
cute.
like grew into her teeth as an adult. And so
Janet, when we become friends, I will never comment on how your teeth looked as a kid.
I might ask you to whistle.
So, but was it like
it was
a
like
melody or
kind of a
kind
thing.
of like a long tone?
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's so weird.
But wait, Haley, how were you able to do that with your prominent teeth?
Excuse me, I've been told I have rabbit teeth. Thanks.
And if there's one animal that's known for prominent teeth,
Stop it. Just stop it right now. Oh my gosh, we just left the same. Okay. So that same night as the whistling, the kids are going to bed, and from Janet's direction, barking begins.
No!
Kind of like a rah, rah type of a thing. And no one sees her bark, like her lips aren't even moving, even as the sound happens. And then the sound begins to come from different parts of the room. And so Maurice starts to communicate with this entity or spirit or whatever you think it is. And Maurice says, "I want to hear you speak. Give us a name." And in a low bark, the voice says, "Maurice." And another bark.
Wait, it says the name of the investigator?
Uh-huh.
Oh, creepy.
And then another bark says, "Gross." It's kind of that tone, but
Wait.
like that hurts my vocal cords to do that.
So it says his first and last name, Maurice Gross.
Yes, it does.
And Maurice was the one asking the question?
Maurice is asking the questions.
Oh, creepy. You know what? This is not the first time. I don't know if you remember when we did that episode on shadow people, and I was talking about I can't remember the name of the couple, the Newkirks maybe? No, it wasn't the Newkirks. It was a different couple, but I can't remember. When she asked a demon its name, it said her name. Remember?
Well, so Maurice doesn't ask for anyone's specific name. Maurice says, give us a name.
Give us a name, not what is your name.
Yep.
I think in the one I talked about, she said, what is your name? And the demon or entity said her name.
I think I remember this, but I mean,
do you remember what I mean?
I was like,
Vaguely.
it was a while ago. 'Twas a while ago. So then Maurice says, can you tell us what your name is? And in a clear, gruff voice, I'm Bill.
Bill.
And then Maurice says, another name? Wilkinson. And then Maurice asks, did you die in this house? Yes. And so it's that very low, creepy thing. And this is coming from an 11-year-old girl, and she's not moving her lips.
But the sound is coming from her.
Sound is coming from
so
her.
Creepy. Oh, that poor girl. Oh, she must have felt so violated.
Yes. And when you see her and her sister as adult women, like, it's just like, this whole thing was incredibly traumatic, and like they both kind of tried to not talk about it. Janet, I think, gave like 2 interviews, maybe 3 interviews about this situation, and just you can like see from her, like, at least in my opinion, from her heart, like she's like, these things happened to me, and I was 11, I was 12, I was a child. And my impression is that she is very sincere. And then her sister gives the first interview ever in this like docu-series reenactment where they talk about it. And it's they seem very sincere, in my opinion. But okay, back into
the narrative.
1977. So during this entire time, so Maurice is leaving his family at night and spends the night at the Hodgson's house, right? Doing these recordings, taking these notes and all of this stuff. And so Maurice would get home and sit at breakfast with his wife and his son, Richard, who he's an adult. He's a lawyer living at home. Maurice would tell them about what happened the night before, and he would play his wife and his son tapes of the events. And so Maurice had been inviting his son, like, hey, come to the house, come check it out, come see.
How old is his son?
An adult lawyer.
Adult.
He's a working lawyer. Like, come to this house, come check it out. And his son always said, until you have actual evidence, you know, I don't want to go there, but if you bring actual evidence, I'll give it a look. And so
typical lawyer.
Maurice has this voice recorded. And so Richard is like, sure, I'll come and check it out. And so Richard is with his father at the Hodgsons, and they are approaching the girls' room, and the door is slightly open. Peggy, the mother, is with Maurice and Richard. And Richard, this is his recounting as like a man in his like 60s or something.
So later.
Okay. And he recalls thinking to himself, I'm just going to peek in the room at Janet. As soon as that thought passed through his mind, a voice says, shut the fucking door. And
out loud or in his mind?
No, out loud. And then the door closes. The door slams in his face.
Oh my gosh, that's so scary.
And then they like stand there for a beat, and the door opens again. I can't remember if Richard opens it or what. And then the voice says, you can come in, stand by the wall, look at the wall. And then it goes on to say, I'm Bill Wilkinson. I died 15 years ago. I've come here to see my family.
This is so scary.
And so then because this is Richard talking to quote unquote Bill, but it's through Janet. So Richard asks why he didn't go where all the other dead people go. And Bill responds, I'm not a heaven man. Oh. And Richard says, Bill, I want you to tell me if you remember what happened to you when you died. He says, I had an hemorrhage, I fell asleep, and I died in a chair. I died in a corner downstairs. And so Bill is becoming more and more vocal. And he's...
Wait, was this the accent he had in the recording, or are you just...
I'm doing my best.
This accent.
I'm doing my best. Maybe that should be the name of our
your
podcast.
inspiration.
I'm
doing the best I can with what I got.
But it's one of those where like they don't pronounce H's, or as they say over there,
like-
H's. So I'm doing my best to kind of like imitate, but
Yeah, it's spooky.
thank you.
If they
And it's really hard on my vocal cords. And so this is coming from an 11-year-old girl who would do this for hours.
Oh, yeah.
And like her voice was never her like when she would like come out of the man's voice and be talking as herself, it's like, oh, I don't know what, like just
Right.
very child voice, and then like this gruff, deep man's voice would, and we talked about it in the last episode, I think, right, where it was her like back vocal folds were being used, and like it's very rare that even an adult can have that type of control over your back vocal cords,
Yeah.
or false vocal cords, I think is what they're called.
It's so interesting.
So Bill is becoming more and more vocal, talking about he's came to see his wife, but his wife had already passed away. That's why the Hodgson family was living in this house. And so the voice is mostly coming from Janet. Sometimes the voice comes from Margaret. And the girls, when they're interviewed, say that they feel the voice is coming from the back of their necks, and like almost like something is kind of taking a hold of the back of their neck and like coming from behind them almost.
So they can actually feel it happening. So that's why their mouths are closed.
There is a point where they do a test on Janet, and the voice does come from her with her mouth taped shut. But their mouths aren't necessarily closed, but they're moving like a ventriloquist would when they're like doing a bit with their ventriloquist dummy.
Just kidding.
Very good.
And that is why taping mouths shut does not work to silence children.
No.
Teachers and parents take note.
No, they won't. They'll never be quiet. So, on further study, the voices were not produced normally. They were produced on false vocal folds, which using only these is very rare. And Bill would talk for hours, sometimes recorded talking up to 3 hours at a time. And the girls said that they felt like they were being used.
Too much?
Something at the back of their necks, or like someone was standing behind them. And Bill would speak, and then they would ask one of the girls a question, and they would answer in their voice, no hoarseness, no soreness.
So it says that they're also known as ventricular folds, which is like ventriloquist, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And are paired mucosal folds located above the true vocal folds in the larynx.
Yeah.
They're a protective layer and playing a role in certain vocal techniques and reflexes.
Well, and I have a client who she is a speech therapist, and I asked her about this, and she's like, oh yeah, no, like that's like practically impossible.
Wow.
To isolate the false vocal folds like that. It would take years and years of practice, and we have to keep in mind this is a 12 and 13-year-old girls doing this. So,
Scary.
do you remember Graham Morris,
Refresh
the
our
photographer?
memories. Do you remember? Oh, I
who
do.
was hit in the face with a Lego so hard it left a bruise for
That's
2
right.
weeks?
I do remember.
So he wanted to get some real evidence on film. So with the recorders hooked up to give them live feed from the girls' room, and cameras hooked to a cord with a button that could get real-time photos. So Graham is sitting downstairs. They have a cord that goes from the cameras up in the girls' room all the way downstairs in the living room. And Graham would listen to the girls' room in real time. And if he would hear anything that he wanted on film, camera film, he would press the button, and that would take a photo of the girls upstairs.
Oh, wow.
And so one night they hear a big commotion, and Graham is at his station in the living room, and he starts to take several photos. And this is where the most famous photo from this whole thing is captured. And I have the photo in our shared sisters notes. Emmy, if you have the Rampton sisters thing, but also here it is. It's this middle one here of Janet in midair.
Oh, yeah.
What happened was, so Graham's cameras take 6 photos per second. So the first photo is her laying in bed. The second photo, a sixth of a second later, she's almost levitating above her bed. And then the next photo, she's in the middle of her room. So it's this photo in the shared sister notes.
Yeah.
In the middle of the room in midair. And all of this is happening in less than 1 second. So from her bed under covers to in midair in like half a second.
Scary.
And so over and over, Janet and Margaret are being thrown from their beds, and they describe it as being, or Janet describes it as being dragged from her bed by her wrists, and her sister Margaret is also experiencing this, but she's just not quite as often as Janet, because Janet is the epicenter. And so now there are 4 regular investigators on this case: Maurice, who we know very well,
Crazy old Maurice,
Guy, Graham, the photographer, and David, who was the one who did the metal bending test. And she broke his machine with her mind.
Wow.
And so one of the assistant investigators, David Robertson, was going upstairs. And upstairs is where most of these paranormal events are happening, specifically in Janet and Margaret's room. And so as Janet enters her bedroom, the door slams in his face right behind her. And David was not able to get into the room. And he said it felt like the door became a brick wall. And so David is knocking on the door and asking if Janet is okay. And Janet responds by saying, "I'm being levitated."
Oh.
And
don't worry.
So
I'm just being levitated.
So I don't know if Peggy heard a little commotion or anything, but Peggy is now standing with David, and they get the door open, and Janet is laying on her bed, and David is like, "Hey, are you okay?" And then they talk about the levitation, and he asks her if she's levitating to draw a line around the light on the ceiling. And the light was in a location on the ceiling that could not have been reached unless the very heavy and very loud beds were moved. And the beds were so creaky when even just sat on. And so David and Peggy,
there's just little girls in that room.
it's just little girls.
Yeah.
Right now it's just Janet, and she's 12.
Oh,
And she's you saw the photos of her. She's skinny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She had a pencil in her hand though.
So he gave her a red marker, and he says, "Okay, if you're truly levitating, draw a circle around this light fixture on your ceiling." And so while he's out of the room, everything is very quiet except the sounds of the city. He tries the door again, but it is still stiff. And then they hear a bump, and then Janet cries out. And suddenly the door will open again, and they go inside and see that there's a neatly drawn line around the light. And Janet says, "I've been through the wall. It was all white." And so, through the wall between the kids' room and Peggy's room, went through the wall. And so Peggy says, because Peggy is pretty skeptical of Janet this whole time.
She's like, "What's that kid up to?"
And so Peggy says, "Do it again." And then Peggy goes to her bedroom, and no one had been in Peggy's room that day. And she kept a very tidy house. She knew where everything was. How moms do. I know where everything is. Your socks, they're stuffed in the couch. I saw it, And so Peggy, upon entering her room, finds Janet's copy of Fun and Games for Children in Peggy's room. And just a couple minutes ago, Peggy had seen it in Janet's room. And Janet had been in Janet's room this whole time.
Wait, was Fun and Games for Children a book that talked about how to prank your parents into thinking that you were a paranormal being or being
Ghosts and other types of tricks?
You know what? We should get a copy of it.
How to convince your parents you're possessed by a demon.
You know what? I can't remember.
Oh, I mean, that is odd.
Right?
So her mom had seen it in her room.
And David saw it as well.
She said she was going through the wall and it was all white, and then it was in her mom's room.
Suddenly, the book is in her mom's room.
And it was a book called Fun and Games for Children.
I love that.
It's crazy.
I didn't even think about that, but I love that. Not to drive your parents completely mad. So with these couple of instances, David wanted something a little more difficult to explain. He gave Janet a large red plastic cushion, and he said, if you're going through walls, make this disappear. And then the voice, which they started calling the gravelly Bill Wilkinson voice, they just started calling it the voice, coming from Janet, says, all right, David boy, I'll make it disappear. David barely steps out of the room when Janet calls to him. He goes back in. The window had been shut the entire time. The window was shut and the cushion was nowhere to be seen. Now, this is where those 30 witnesses that I talked about in the first episode, this is where a few of them come into play. Because there was a group of people outside at this time because of school crossing. School had let out, and so people were grouped up to grab their kids, or children were grouped up and hanging out. And one of the crossing guards, they saw her floating horizontally, and they heard a big bang against the window, then saw a pillow hit the window. And then they saw Janet, her body was positioned as if someone was picking her up by her middle. So she was kind of horizontally bent. And
Yikes.
Then another witness, which was a tradesman, saw in her window. And these people know there's like weird goings on at this house. So people are kind of keeping an extra eye on it. So a tradesman saw in her window, he said, it looked like she was going to fly straight out the window. The commotion in her window looked violent. And then he saw what looked like a red pillow on the roof.
On the roof?
On
Did
the
they ever
roof.
go up and check to see if it was there?
The red pillow is never mentioned again.
I just want to know where it went. They'd be like, so we climbed up the chimney and we walked out onto the roof.
I mean, it seems like that it was just kind of like this incident, like with the notes that Maurice and Guy were taking. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so
Listen, when Janet and I become friends, I'll ask her about it and I'll let you guys
thank
know.
goodness. But yeah, it kind of seems like it's like recorded this incident. Okay, now this next incident is happening.
I just zoomed in on Google Maps on the house, and that is not a red pillow.
Oh, it's not?
I think it's a red awning or something in the back.
You're like, there it is. It's still on the roof.
Pillow.
That's so funny, though. We're talking about it. There's a rectangle.
That's funny. I wonder if they did that on purpose.
Probably.
And so with these eyewitness statements are unreliable, but these statements were given separately about the same event that happened on the same day. So I feel like that does give them at least a little bit more credibility. So the next kind of event that happens, okay, how about this? The next man that visits the Hodgson household, because so many men have been in and out investigating this, is a magician. And he
Finally.
Good. Solutions are coming.
Enter the magician.
So at least the family's taking it seriously now, right?
As we know, magicians are notoriously serious.
Serious magician. So you said
Milburn Christopher, and he's an American. And he was very
an American
skeptical.
magician?
I think he was. And he was very skeptical and wanted to unmask these fraudulent children. And so he asked to not be introduced as a magician. Now, I have a question for you, sisters.
I will not look.
How long did it take for him to do a magic trick?
6 hours.
Wrong.
Instant. I bet instantly he did a magic trick.
We're on
Emily?
opposite ends of the spectrum.
Emily, you're closer. 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Like, don't reveal yourself. Don't reveal yourself. I can't help myself.
Stroking his little goatee.
Ooh, did he have a little goatee?
So he was, I don't know. I should have looked him up. So he was in the house for 15 minutes before he started doing magic tricks for the kids. And Guy Playfair, who is his acquaintance and why he was even brought into the house at all, Guy Playfair tried to cover for him by saying, he's a pretty good amateur magician, while he was actually a very highly skilled magician. What's that behind your ear there? Is this your card?
15 minutes. Wow, that guy has
No
long
chill.
game.
No chill.
No chill.
So the kids were going to bed, and The voice wouldn't stop. And so Maurice put tape over Janet's mouth and the voice kept going. And this is all in the same evening with the magician. The girls are being thrown from their beds once observers are gone. Janet was put in her own room, hoping that would calm things down.
Now, Janet, calm down. Janet, stay calm while I affix this tape over your mouth.
While I tape your mouth closed.
Wait, did it say what kind of magic trick he did, or did he just...
He pulled a coin from behind a child's ear.
Oh, that was literally you were right, Eddie.
That is what I guessed.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. He just couldn't help himself.
Couldn't help himself.
I bet the coin was already there. I bet he was just greedy.
Janet probably kept one taped behind her ear just in case of this event. I mean, I have one behind my ear
right now.
Why wouldn't you?
So they put the kids to bed, and then to try and trick the children, Guy and the magician make a big show of going downstairs, just like, and now we head down to the living room. Good night, children. Clomp, clomp, clomp.
We are making our exit.
Hear our footsteps fading along with our voices.
And then Guy leaves the magician to hang out on the stairs because the magician was like, I'm sure one of these kids is going to come out and try and play a trick. So he says that Janet comes out of her room silently and just stands at the top of the stairs. And then the magician says, and then he produced a flash of light. It's a magician's thing. The magician believed that Janet was trying to see if the coast was clear, and he was sure she was trying to play a trick. But Maurice and Guy record everything, right? Another question, sisters. Do their stories line up?
No.
Wait, so did the magician produce the flash of light, or did the child?
The magician. Because he goes, and then I produced a flash of light. You know, it's a magician's thing.
Yes.
So they do not exactly align, the magician's version of things and what the recording tells Maurice and Guy.
Audio or visual?
Audio.
Okay.
So what you hear Janet call for Mr. Gross, and then there's a long pause that lasts 22 seconds. And this is with the magician on the stairway and Janet standing at the top of the stairway, right? So they're like looking at each other. They're like looking at each other for 22 seconds where she's like, Mr. Gross.
So she does see the magician. And the magician sees her.
And they stand there for 22 seconds. And so then the magician finally breaks the silence saying, hello, what are you doing? How are you? And Janet, and they have a thick London accent, like that kind of like Cockney, I think. And so like with that thick kind of Cockney accent, like as Americans, like it's tough sometimes to know what they're saying. And so he's like, hello, what are you doing? How are you? And Janet's like, oh, just go out of bed. She says, I just
got out of bed.
And he goes, just out of bed? My goodness. And then she goes, don't like it here on my own. Like, I don't like it here on my own. She didn't like sleeping in the bedroom on her own. But he couldn't understand her due to the thick accent. So he's like, huh? And then she repeats herself, I don't like it here on my own. And he's like, what happened?
Oh, because she's in her own room.
And then she again goes, I don't like it here on my own. Why do I have to stay in here on my own? And Janet is speaking very fast, a thick accent. And so the magician is having like trouble understanding her.
Why doesn't he use his magic to understand her?
Nettie, you are a fortune teller. After this interaction, there are 3 strange noises, and it is presumed this is the flash of light. So he does 3 flashes of light, pop, pop, pop. And then Janet goes, oh me God. And then you can hear her running back to her room. And in her room, you can hear her saying, he's gone mad. So she like didn't really understand what those flashes of light were.
Well, no. Why would any child standing at the top of the stairs talking to an adult man that she thought was an amateur magician understand why suddenly there are 3 flashes?
Well, and it's like
with like 3 sounds accompanying.
Yeah, and like she's never left this part of Enfield, London. like they're very working class, poor. The 1970s in London, if you were working class, were very hard. And so the magician leaves the house, reports that the kids are faking everything. So another fuss around the Hodgson household, and it seems like there's kind of these ebbs and flows of press reporting on the Enfield haunting, the Hodgson household. So now we are only in Christmas of 1997 at this point.
Right.
And this whole thing takes place over 18 months, right?
1977, Christmas of 1977.
September to December.
Okay.
Is this like chunk of time? For me, like I just feel like it's quite amazing that most of this story is like a very short span. And then like we go on and obviously I'll get to
It's like
the rest
literally
of that, but
3 months.
yeah.
Ish.
So Christmas, 1997.
77?
1977. Rewind. So Christmas, 1977. Knives begin following Janet around. And they are the knives from the house that the father murdered his daughter.
Oh, across the street?
Yeah, they threw other things away. They did not throw away the knives.
That is from the previous episode. Are they floating in the air or are they scooting along the floor like the marbles?
Well, Janet says, calls to her mother and says, "There's a knife following me around."
Oh, that poor little girl.
So the knives disappear from Peggy's chopping station after Peggy investigates, Janet calling to her mom, saying there's a knife following her around.
Okay.
Peggy doesn't see a knife, but then Peggy comes back down the stairs, and on the stairs that Peggy just went up, Peggy goes back down, there's a knife on the stairs.
Wait,
After this,
she went down, no knife. Goes back up.
No, she goes up, no knife.
No knife. Back down,
knife. So the knives were disposed of. They're like, we don't need this. And I believe, if I remember correctly, there was a point where the voice was like, if you don't get rid of the knives, something bad's gonna happen.
Yeah, go ahead and get new knives.
Yeah, something along those lines. I didn't put it in my notes for some reason. So we're still in December of 1977. And an SPR conference is going on, and Maurice has a presentation during one of the kind of classes that they have, and where he presents his evidence, mainly about Janet, but with Bill speaking through her. And he ends by saying that this investigation had, at this point, which is just a few months, had 1,490 incidents that could not be refuted. Like they could not find an explanation, a natural explanation for why these things were happening. And so SPR members, as we know, they were skeptical. They're asking questions. Anita Gregory, who was a fixture in the SPR community, says, "I can't say I share the feeling of our very invested investigators. There was an element of game between Maurice and the little girl. I feel the investigators and family contributed to creating this situation." And so Maurice says, "I'm asking if someone can explain to me how she does it, and nobody can come up with an answer." And so it's just kind of this thing of people are saying, well, I don't know why you're wrong, but I think you're wrong. And Maurice is like, I am welcome to being told I'm wrong if you can come up with why I'm wrong, giving evidence, giving an explanation. And so I'm not saying I exactly think all of the events are from a poltergeist, but I do, in my personal opinion, as Haley Rempton, I am saying I don't think that these two little girls, mostly Janet, could like
do all this stuff,
like play all these pranks and fool all of these adults time and time again.
And the only things we know for sure are that the 3 bangs came from the magician.
3 flashes of light.
Magic stuff. Yeah.
And it was reading a suspicious book about adults.
Fun and games for children. Very suspicious.
Yeah. And the coin behind the child's ear also came from the magician.
Yes. So really, we know that he played some tricks on the family.
Right.
And so while all these SPR members are saying, Maurice, you're wrong, no one's giving explanations. And all the naysayers it just kind of feels like they're super smug and just like, you're wrong, but we're not going to say why we think you're wrong. And Those that did come to check things out, they did so for maybe one night, left saying again that he was wrong. And as we know, this investigation went over a period of 18 months. So now we are on Tuesday, December 20th. Anita Gregory visits. Anita is in the girls' room and she's asking, "What do you want?" Over and over at Janet.
Who's
what
Anita
do you want?
Gregory again?
She was the SPR member that spoke up and said, "I can't say I share the feeling of our very invested investigators. There was an element of game between Maurice and the little girl."
Got it. Okay. Thanks.
So Anita Gregory visits, and so she's just asking this question over and over at Janet, "What do you want?" And then she says, "Do you want me to go out?" And then she asks, "Are you frightened of me?" And the voice says, "No." And then Anita says, "Tell me how you are." And he says, "Fuck off." And then she says, "Well, that's splendid, but you haven't told me how you are. You told me where to go. Now tell me how you are. I really want to know." This was a common comeback of the voice, which says, "Shit off." And then,
Good one.
but that
Bill.
was mumbled. And then Anita responds, "Didn't catch that. Say it again more distinctly. You're doing very well. Say it a bit more clearly, please. Tell me how you are.
Oh, I like her.
I really want to know what it feels like to be you."
Ghost, you're mumbling. Clearer, please. But you're doing well.
And then,
Use your words.
and then the voice responds, "Shit you."
Shit, who now, Bill? Bill, who shit?
You've already told me to go there.
You told me what to do and you told me where to go, but I don't know how you are, Bill.
So Anita and her companion that she brought with her left the house, still unconvinced.
What
And now-
convincing do you need, Anita?
This is when a little Pooh arrives to the story.
A little poo.
A little Pooh?
Oh no.
Oh, no, like poop?
Yeah.
Ew, I don't know. I don't like poop, guys.
So, January 5th.
We said no scat stories. When we started this podcast, we said no scat stories.
This is not a jazz podcast.
So, January 15th, 1978, Margaret comes running out of the bathroom, and the word shit was written on the wall in
Shit.
Shit? Oh, gross.
shit.
Gross.
Ugh.
I hope it wasn't ghost poop because that's marshmallows.
Oh, they think it's ghost poop.
It is marshmallows, and I tried some once.
Gross.
Bought it at a guest.
I'm just
a
teasing
guest
you. I'm just
store.
teasing
Guest
you.
store?
You can call it a guest
What,
store.
what do you call it?
Gas station?
Gas station?
Convenience store?
Souvenir store.
You call it what you want, honey.
I also agree that it could be called a guest
A
store. You
shop?
are not wrong.
A shop for tourists, aka guests.
Okay, so Margaret comes running out of the bathroom. The word shit is written on the wall. Margaret said she went into the bathroom and then she was tapped on the shoulder and she turned around and saw the word had suddenly appeared.
Oh.
And so Margaret comes out like yelling about this, and Peggy was there, and Peggy looked at Margaret's hands to see if she had been the one to write the word shit, and she said her hands were too clean and too dry for Margaret to have been able to have done that, wash her hands, come out and screamed. Then Peggy was hit in the back with poo that was rolled up in toilet paper.
Oh, gross. Bill
Again,
Wilkerson, you were taking
Gross.
too far.
Again, Margaret was in the bathroom. None of the other kids were around. Again, she inspected Margaret's hands. They were clean. And Peggy is quoted as saying, "She couldn't have done that without getting in a mess."
I do have to say, you have to wash your hands like 40 times to get the shit smell off if you write shit in shit.
Yeah. Emily is speaking from
I wouldn't know.
a place of knowledge.
As one who has never done that, like Emily, I would not know.
And so those are the like two like kind of weird poo-poo involving things. I think there actually might be one more, but it's a little bit later. So things are still being thrown around the house. Cushions, marbles, dishes. Dishes are also being stacked in a weird way, and furniture is moving. Like how the chair flipped with Janet in it. And there was a chair that flipped that threw, I believe, Janet about 8 feet.
Oh, that poor girl. She's been through a lot.
Yeah. So one evening, a very expensive car pulls up to the house, and it
Is
is
it another magician?
Was it Queen Elizabeth?
no. It is a
We are in
ventriloquist named Ray Allen.
I love how you covered the computer like we would actually guess that.
So, this is how this whole situation goes down. Ray Allen arrives unannounced to this family. And they, like, Peggy just was so used to just like, sure, come in. Yeah, this house has a bunch of crazy things going on. Ray Allen, with his manager, takes the girls into another room. And it is Janet, Margaret, Ray, and his manager, the four of them. No recorders, so no one knows exactly what was said in there. Doug Bentz, who was the reporter from the Mirror, said he was horrified when he found out that the paper sent Ray Allen. Doug Bentz is quoted as saying, if you're choosing a team of people to gather evidence, you wouldn't put Ray Allen on the team.
But why? He's a ventriloquist.
He wouldn't have been sympathetic.
But wouldn't he know if the girl was using ventriloquism?
I mean, it's kind of like these girls are competition. And so he wants to, kind of like the magician wants to prove that they're fake, not going to give any ounce of like open-mindedness of like,
Okay.
maybe these girls are possessed or something along those lines. And
So
so
he's worried they're going to step in on his ventriloquy game.
his turf. And he just seemed like a bully. I mean, this is a grown man taking 12 and 13-year-old girls into a room alone and interrogating
12
them.
and 13-year-old girls
You-
with buck teeth.
You should, like,
Oh,
you are a
poor
grown man. You
girls.
should know better than that, than to do this.
That's terrible.
The fallout from this was the girls, after he leaves, they're hysterical because he just kind of bullied them and talked at them.
Oh,
And I'll get to
things.
like their reaction in a little more detail. And I also feel like Doug Bentz, who's a reporter who I think probably knew a little bit more about Ray Allen as a person, and his quote saying that he wouldn't have been sympathetic, I think that kind of speaks to Ray Allen's character as a bully. Plus, as I just said, he sees these girls as competition, and what if they can do his craft better than he can, and he can't be outdone by children. So, and it is also speculated that the family, because they're working class, Peggy is a single mother, they were not well off financially, they were looked down on.
so if Ray Allen comes in and he's worried that they're doing his craft better than him, wouldn't it behoove him to say it was paranormal?
From what I understand, and then so none of that was recorded, but Peggy calls Maurice and she is furious. Her two girls are hysterical because what comes out in the newspaper after this is that Ray Allen reported, and it was published in the Mirror, saying that the girls admitted they invented the voices themselves.
Ray said that?
Ray Allen says
So,
this.
yes, then, Ray, you have competition from 12-year-olds. What an idiot.
He says they were just
He's
playing
such a
tricks.
dummy.
He says through his interview with them, they were giggling and laughing through the whole thing, and that they just loved the attention. And I have to say, this family is not profiting. I think I've said this before. I'll probably say it again. This family is not profiting from any of this.
They're not getting any financial gain.
They're not getting any financial gain from any of these people who are just traipsing through this house, feeling very entitled to just interrogate these children. And it is adult men, overwhelmingly adult men. There are a couple of ladies in here who also interrogate the girls, but it's overwhelmingly adult men just talking at these little girls. So the Hodgson family was taken by surprise, and Peggy said that they were not expecting anybody. And so after that phone call, Maurice comes over earlier than usual to chat with the girls. And this is all recorded, and it was in Guy Playfair's book. So Maurice starts asking the girls what happened. And Margaret says that she did not understand what he was saying. And she was just thinking about what she needed for school the next day. So that just tells me that I think, for one, these girls are kind of used to these people coming in and just being like, and what about this? And then another thing. And you're a child and you're playing tricks. And they just kind of like check out. and start like maybe processing, exactly what Margaret said. Okay, so for school tomorrow I need, or something like that. They're just,
Kids don't know
done.
what's normal.
No.
If what they're experiencing is abnormal all the time, they don't know better.
Exactly. And so she said that she just nodded along with what he was saying. She completely checked out. And she said that she never spoke while Ray Allen and his manager were in the room. It's just two girls, children, with two adult men. And Janet told Maurice they didn't ask her a thing, and she wasn't faking the voice anyway. And so Maurice,
why wasn't Maurice in there with them?
Because it was a surprise drop.
Maurice didn't facilitate
and so
it.
Maurice
wasn't part of it.
They weren't there. It was the newspaper, and they didn't contact the family.
But Maurice was there so much. I guess it was just an unfortunate coincidence that he wasn't there at the time.
Yeah, I think, I would agree.
I mean, that's illegal. I want to point out nowadays, at least in the US, like for adults to like question children without the presence of like a parent or guardian of some sort.
Yeah.
You guys see that horrible video? It was horrible in every way, of this dad trying to confront his child's bully, and his own child is there, and he's like got this kid backed into a corner being like, you like to bully kids? You like to bully kids? And then some other kid is recording it and comes behind. Another kid comes along and yanks down the dad's pants, and he doesn't have underwear on, and he's just butt naked.
No, I haven't seen this.
Oh my gosh.
But I'd like to. I mean, no, I don't. Why'd I say that?
Oh,
It's so horrific. Like,
that's awful.
I saw it on Reddit. All the comments were like, oh no, that kid has to change schools.
I just don't understand parents
wear a belt.
that like step in and confront the actual bully just because it's like, that is a child as well.
Go talk to the
bully's
parent.
Adults. You gotta go through other adults.
Yeah. Okay, so Janet said she wasn't faking the voice anyways. And Maurice asks some clarifying questions about the interrogation from Ray. I guess the manager was from the paper The Mirror. And so Maurice asks if they've ever faked the voice. The girls say no. And then Maurice asks, have you faked anything else? Margaret responds, no. So what Ray Allen and this manager were accusing these girls of, from my point of view, were being expert magicians and expert ventriloquists at the age of 12 and 14. And they were being accused of getting away with it for months, fooling several adults, terrorizing their mother and their two little brothers, and doing it so well that they received worldwide attention.
I mean, honestly, Ray, are you stupid? They're going to put you out of business. If they're that good at ventriloquism, you toast.
You gone.
You toast, Ray. Call
Goodbye,
us,
Ray.
Tell us your POV, Ray. Is he
Ray's
alive?
probably gone.
Is he alive still?
Yeah, I think he's dead.
I bet he's not around. I just think it's so weird that they would be like, okay, there's a claim of haunting. Let's get our top ventriloquist guy over here to interview.
They're like, you know what? We can't be outdone by this magician that went and hung out.
And let off 3 sparks. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh.
Magician shit.
They probably, a magician's thing.
I can't explain it. It's magician secrets.
It's something magicians do. So after Ray Allen made these claims, and this was published in the paper, even more people started going in and out of the house.
Leave that family alone.
Oh, Nettie, you were right. I had not talked about Ed and Lorraine Warren yet.
Here they come.
So
Wait, do they pull up in a super fancy car? And who might it be?
So the phone is ringing off the hook.
Who might it be?
Enter.
Was it Ed and Lorraine Warren?
Yes. So Maurice was very excited to speak with them because from his position, they seemed to be like-minded people. But after a little bit of conversation, Ed began talking about money, and he talked about selling the life rights for movies. And so Maurice and Guy were kind of like, oh, I don't want to talk with you guys anymore. That's not the point of this. And so Maurice and Guy pretty quickly lost interest in speaking with Ed and Lorraine Warren. But Ed and Lorraine Warren did hang out for about an afternoon.
Okay.
So now another test in the investigation.
Wait. What did Lorraine find?
Nothing.
Nothing? Okay.
No, they were there simply to make an appearance. It
Okay.
seems, especially from the writings of Guy Playfair and then the recordings on the documentary slash reenactment, they just weren't there. And it's a little wild to me that they centered this entire movie around Ed and Lorraine Warren
When
when
they
the
just-
actual story is much more interesting.
They were so insignificant to the actual process.
They were there for an afternoon, over 18 months.
I just wish that I knew what Lorraine, because how I've always felt about this, and this is a slight tangent, so I'm sorry, but it's like I've always felt like Lorraine was authentic and had talent, and that Ed was a little bit of a leech
As
who
what?
wanted
As like a clairvoyant or what?
yeah, as like a clairvoyant or like the ability to talk to spirits.
Okay.
So that's why I'd be so curious, like if Lorraine actually found anything, and if Ed was like, nope, if we're not getting a money deal, we're out of here and we're not saying anything.
I mean, the Warrens do so many interviews on this case, but they were there for an afternoon. And
Right.
so they really magnified their involvement more than they actually were there.
Okay.
And on the Conjuring 2 movie, Janet does do a bit of an interview and she also like inflates their involvement, but that is the only time that Janet ever talks about Ed and Lorraine even being involved.
All right.
So Maurice and Guy, they're just like, no, we don't want to talk with Ed and Lorraine Warren. Goodbye. Please leave. We are not interested in selling this story for life rights to make money.
I'm sorry, one more question.
Go
Were
on.
they American or
Ed and Lorraine,
England?
yes.
Yeah, okay, so they came over from the U.S.
Yes.
Hearing about this. Okay, that
Yes.
was all I wanted to know.
Yep.
I thought they were American. I was just like, but they're in England. Okay, got it.
You know who else was American? The Magician.
Yeah.
The magician was American?
More like Americant. He could not even decipher.
He would never survive in today's America.
Never.
No, for sure. For sure not.
Ray Allen, as far as I can see, is as Oliver would say, shit-idiot. So Maurice and Guy move on to another test in the investigation where they tape Janet's mouth shut to record Bill or the voice talking while her mouth is taped shut.
I hate this taping a 12-year-old's mouth shut. 11, 12-year-old.
It's not good.
I don't care for it. I also wonder, why were they not investing in a video camera at all at this point?
I don't know.
70s, I just
think
wonder
maybe
how
they were so expensive.
cumbersome they were. But yeah, there is footage from the 70s.
I mean, yeah,
A few years later, Dad had a big giant VHS on his
I
shoulder.
remember that.
So Maurice is provoking the spirit as Janet's mouth is taped shut, and Bill speaks, says, "Shut the door."
Why is he so obsessed with shutting doors?
And well, he likes to say "shit you."
Shit you, but he said shut the door earlier.
Oh, he did say "shut the door" earlier, right? And he also says, "Hello, Mr. Gross," with her mouth taped shut. And then they go on to have her have a mouthful of water and sing "Daisy, Daisy." And so the beginning,
so true. That
Yep.
song.
Daisy, Daisy. Yep. And then she starts to cough. She takes the tape off of her mouth, does not continue that experiment. So it kind of ends there. Maurice is like, why did you do that? And she's like, I'm 12.
Actual
So-
response from Janet. I'm 12.
Well, I just put that in there. That's my interpretation. So
I'm a child.
help. So Maurice is offering £1,000 to anyone who can find someone who can do the same thing. Water in the mouth, mouth taped shut, can sing a song clearly. No one ever claims the prize.
You do it? Like, I'm really curious. Like, what is this proving?
That
There's
if
a
she's-
voice.
Yeah, if she's doing it herself.
Right.
Well, Maurice is now starting to move towards, rather than a poltergeist, he's starting to move towards possession, and that Janet is possessed by this old man ghost.
Okay.
And so this is still a little girl. And she
Right.
constantly has people in her face. She's constantly being questioned. She's constantly having to prove herself. And I am not saying that she and her sister never pulled a trick.
No,
never
they had a book called Fun and Games
for children.
For children.
Yeah. And But I do think that it is highly improbable that a 12-year-old girl could trick so many people for as long as this investigation went on. Maybe I'm saying that too much, but I think that it bears reminding. So
I agree with you, hey.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So I think one of the sadder points of this episode is that there were many times over the course of this investigation that Janet says, I want to go away from here.
Oh.
And I just think that that is so telling of like how hard this was on all of these kids. And just like you have these, like the Ray Allen thing where this just guy is bullying two little girls.
I hope he's
or you
ashamed
have-
of himself in hindsight. Like, what an ass. Ray Allen, if you're still alive, you should be ashamed of yourself.
He died in 2010.
He deserved it.
This also, I think, speaks to, and I think I just said this, like the impact that all of this has on these kids, these people in and out of their house. And I do believe that their intentions were positive. The impact was kind of negative.
Their intention was to help the kids. But I mean, we know so much more about psychology and like trauma and PTSD. I think at that time they're like, kids will get over it. This will form them. This is it.
Yeah, kids are resilient. That was kind of the mantra.
Yeah,
Kids are resilient. It'll build character. And like, you know, you were allowed to spank your neighbor's kids or your friend's kids.
Not now.
I got spanked.
No, you get in trouble for that now.
Who'd you get spanked by?
Redacted.
You did, but
Redacted.
He spanked me. Yeah.
Oh, the guy?
The dad. He spanked me. And like for a long time, it was like a funny story in their family that whenever I would run into
Redacted.
they'd be like, oh yeah, we still tell that story about blah, 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 blah. And they would laugh. And I always just had like a very like heavy feeling in my chest whenever I would remember that memory. And now looking back, don't hit a child. You are a grown man.
How old were you?
I was 9.
He
at
spanked
the
you
oldest.
as a 9-year-old?
Yeah.
that's terrible, Haley. I'm sorry.
So
I won't dip it
sometimes back in the day,
Don't spank
people
children.
Spanked other people's kids.
Honestly, I'm pissed at him. That's not okay.
Not okay.
I'm mad at him. I'm going to write him a letter. Just kidding.
So, speaking of trauma put onto children from other adults, Anita Gregory makes another appearance, and Bill, or the voice, says, "Get out, you old slut." And Maurice says, "Who's that?" And he says, "Anita Gregory." And Maurice says, "Why don't you like her?" "'Cause she don't believe me. She will when I pull her pants down."
No, don't do it, Bill.
Well, it's Janet,
It's rude.
and she's 12.
But it was Bill.
But it was Bill's voice, yes. So now the reaction to this interaction seems to be a bit confused, also disbelief. And so I'm just going to say maybe I'm a little too willing to believe this whole thing, but no one seems to say why it is all untrue. And it seems that people who have these brief interactions sweep it all into a pile of these girls are faking it. And so I just don't believe it's all fake. And
Seems too long
yeah.
to pull a con this long. 18 months? It's too much for a
Over
child.
everything. Right
Yeah.
now, I believe we're in like January or
And
February.
the sophistication, the hovering, the marbles, like all you put all the
marbles.
things together. How would these kids? They must have been super geniuses.
Flipping furniture and the girls being thrown. Like, it's just too much.
And being far superior ventriloquists to
Yeah.
Ray.
And it's not like these stories. And again, this is like a lot of this is being printed in the paper, whether it is Ray Allen saying the girls are faking it, or whether it's I think his name was Doug Bentz reporting on like these happenings at this house on Green Street. And so Janet and Margaret are like being bullied at school from all of this. Janet is hunted down. Margaret is being called a witch. Their house is targeted, egged, ding dong ditching, and just general shouting outside of this house. And so this family is it's not a respite. This whole thing
no
is
safe space.
There's no safe space. And this whole thing is like turning their lives upside down over and over and over again. Janet is starting to sit alone in the house, rubbing her hands, rocking back and forth, which is something that, as we know today, is a sign of trauma, and just staring into nothing. And the voice is growing stronger. And Janet would also go into total fits where a doctor would be called and come to the house. And according to the doctor, give her a shot that would put a horse to sleep. And it didn't do anything. And I actually have a photo of this, of that photo right there, of Janet is just like totally out of it. And you can see Maurice is trying to comfort her.
Oh, that's Maurice.
Yep, that's Maurice. And Janet is also calling Maurice daddy.
Of course, they don't have a
Their dad is almost non-existent except for his monthly visits to pay his child support, which he always brings his younger wife to.
Gross. Also, I actually think Maurice seems like a good man.
I honestly like, and especially Janet and Margaret, like, being interviewed as adults and their reflection on this time, Maurice is a person that I think they loved. If not love, that they at least like held in like high esteem as a man in their life. And same with Guy Playfair.
Okay.
So the activity is continuing, the furniture turning over, the ever-present marbles, and Maurice begins to move from the suspicion of poltergeist to possession, as I said a little bit earlier. And so it is decided that Janet is going to go to Maudsley Hospital for 6 weeks. And this is a children's hospital. And when she was being dropped off there, she said that she was afraid she was going to be left alone after this. And while she was at this place, all Janet did was worry about her family. And she was there for 2 months.
Well, who was with her? Anybody?
Well, this is a children's hospital, nuns.
So, but like her mom or Maurice didn't stay with her, or like
no, this is like I want to say like almost.
Was it like a confinement? Like she wasn't allowed to see people?
So I didn't see anything in the documentary or in Guy Playfair's book that anyone visited her.
Is it almost like an institution?
A little
thing?
bit of an institution. Okay. So like a children's home / like mental health facility, maybe for kids like 12 and under. And so she had freedom to like roam the grounds and stuff, but she was generally just worried about her family. And while she was gone, the poltergeist activity did die down. It did not stop completely. And so when Janet came home, she felt like her mom didn't want her there. And so now we are in August of 1978. And Peggy Hodgson says that Janet has improved. And after her first stint in that children's home, there was another call for her to be sent to another home, but that didn't go through. And Janet says, and this is Janet as an adult, she says that she thought her mom was sad that Janet couldn't be taken out of the house again. And she thought she wanted Janet gone due to the activity. And as time passes, with all of these things happening, and everybody has kind of grown used to it, just this general state of chaos. There was also a period of time where Maurice was out of the house due to being sick for a long period of time, but Guy kept the investigation going. And
they
so
didn't have the same, though, close relationship with Guy that they did with Maurice. Like Maurice had been there more
of a father figure.
Yeah.
Maurice was, and Guy was a little bit more of like, maybe that estranged uncle who
which one was the one that was trying to do the scientific?
Maurice,
okay.
But Guy supported the scientific approach. So things kind of go like a status quo. And so now we're in 1979. And this is where a medium is contacted. And the medium did not want any information except for the name of the deceased that they were to be contacting. And Guy Playfair asked him to contact Janet Gross. Do you guys remember Janet Gross?
Wait. Janet is the name of the girl, but Janet Gross is a different person.
Janet Gross is Maurice's deceased daughter.
Oh, gosh, I forgot that they had the same name.
At 24 years old, Janet died from a motorcycle accident in August of 1976. due to major head trauma.
Oh, I'd forgotten about that.
And the medium made a tape for Guy to listen to, and he in turn showed it to Maurice. Everything on the tape was accurate, down to a broken kitchen chair, except that Janet did not have dark hair. And the tape talked about an inside joke that she had with a friend. And the psychic says gooseberry, something about gooseberry. And Maurice somehow shows it to a friend of Janet's, who the friend said, I found it all pretty convincing, especially that gooseberry bit. Janet was always saying that. And Maurice says, what do you mean? And the friend says, oh, you know the expression, playing gooseberry. And so it means to act as a sort of chaperone. And Janet's friend goes on to say, my boyfriend and I asked her to come out with us. And Janet says, oh, I'm not going to play gooseberry. And then it became a private joke between the two.
Oh, wow.
After this, whatever you want to call it, like discovery or revelation, the poltergeist or possession kind of fades away. And so Maurice and Guy said they weren't sure about Janet Gross possessing Janet Hodgson, but with the activities stopping almost as quickly as it began, Maurice and Guy closed the case. And that still leaves the Enfield case with the most evidence of poltergeist activity of any study to date. Like the voice stopped, Bill Wilkinson stopped speaking through Janet and Margaret, and the marbles stopped, the turning over of furniture stopped.
And they stayed in the house.
And the Hodgsons stayed in the house.
Well, how long after Janet Gross died was Janet Hodgson's born?
Almost
was there
a year.
Overlap?
Because it was August of 1976 when Janet Gross died from that motorcycle accident.
Yeah.
And then it was August of 1977.
So did Maurice wonder
began.
if she was a reincarnation of her daughter?
Yes.
His daughter?
Oh, yes. There were absolutely questions about, could it have been Janet Gross? And then like maybe all of these other things such as the like furniture and like knives from that father who murdered his daughter coming into the house, and the upheaval of the Hodgson's kid's father leaving them suddenly, but also being scared of their father, and just the emotional strife of whenever their dad would stop by. And Maurice's emotional strife of losing his daughter Janet, and then this case with a Janet falling in his lap just a year later.
Yeah, who starts to view him as a father. So the medium was only ever asked to contact Janet Gross, was never asked to contact Bill Wilkerson?
Yes, that is what they said in the book. The medium was only given, the medium even said, do not give me any other information other than the name of the person you want me to contact, which was Janet Gross. And that was Guy Playfair to the medium.
Wow.
Maurice wasn't really...
I wonder why Guy chose Janet Gross instead of Bill Wilkerson. I just wonder.
Maybe he had a gut feeling.
Yeah, that is really interesting. And that's just kind of how it ends?
And so it just kind of fades. Like, it doesn't have that fantastical ending like in The Conjuring 2, but also The Conjuring 2 is...
fictional.
Yeah.
So they don't like do a go towards the light, Bill.
No. And
Bill, you must go to the other side. We banish you.
Right. And so Maurice and Guy do stay close with the Hodgson family, though, and they regularly keep in touch. And so
they never got to move out of their council estate into a finer one because of their haunting claims, which was their original plan.
But remember, Peggy didn't want to move.
Oh, yeah, I know. I just trying to be funny.
So while the ending is like
a little anticlimactic.
Exactly. It's all of the things put together, which I just have a tough time believing that even if the entire Hodgson family was involved, I have a tough time believing that they faked it all.
No, with that many people in the house
and witnesses
to not
outside
find
the house,
signs of, I don't know, like somehow physically manipulating the environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't think that it's something to just dismiss as something as a trickery from children. And Janet, as an adult woman, still stands by what happened to her as a child. And her sister Margaret is right there beside her.
Mhm.
And neither of them really have explanations for what they went through. But like in the reenactment, there is at the ending Margaret and Janet as adults and like walking through this kind of like warehouse type of thing with all of these photos from what Graham Morris took of them as children. They're like, oh yeah, I remember that's when you were thrown from the bed, or oh, remember this
Oh,
thing of like
our childhood memories of being tossed around a room. Oh, fond.
so
Oh, geez, it's so scary.
Guy Lyon Playfair is quoted as saying, it's not supernatural if it takes place in nature. It's natural. It's just not understood. It's what some people call paranormal. And
Wow.
that is the conclusion of the Enfield Poltergeist. Da da da!
Time.
Oh, so did you watch the docuseries on Apple?
Yeah, I would call it a documentary slash reenactment because they took the actual tapes that Maurice and Guy recorded, and then they had actors lip syncing along with those tapes. And it's
Okay.
really interesting. And I think they get actors who like really look like the people.
Wow.
Yeah.
The audio is authentic.
The audio is authentic.
Crazy.
Wow, that would be cool. I don't think I've watched the documentary.
I enjoyed it. I watched it probably several times over, maybe five times.
Holy cow, Haley.
Well, just to like get the notes, and then also like I needed to like refresh and like reading the book. It was really fun.
Tremendous amount of work.
Thank
You did this so well.
Thank you.
This was fascinating. I was
Good job,
riveted.
hey. That's, yeah, so crazy.
I know, it's so interesting. And like it's one of those things like we're just not really ever going to get a straight answer, I think.
No, it is interesting, but it's definitely paranormal. And that's interesting how Guy Playfair made that distinction between paranormal and supernatural. Like if it's happening in the natural world, it's
It's
not
not
super-
understood.
I guess I just feel like paranormal and supernatural are both similar words that just mean outside of normal,
yeah.
right?
Well, his quote is, it's not supernatural if it takes place in nature. It's natural. It's just not understood. It's what some people call paranormal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right. They are like synonyms,
Synonymous.
synonymous synonyms.
Yeah.
Now I'm craving cinnamon rolls.
Well,
The
shall we
center.
close out the episode?
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. Please rate and review with 5 stars. We love 5 stars. Subscribe to our podcast. It helps us be seen. And please tell your friends if you have any corrections, questions, connections with this story, or if you want to tell us your spooky tale, email us at thespookydarlings@gmail.com. Until next time, be the spooky delight that you wish to see in the world.
Oh,
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Be the spooky delight you wish to see in the world.
Ooh, let's leave that whispering in the end.
Might. I don't know. 5 stars.
Before we disappear into the shadows, don't forget, we're still sending out vinyl stickers. Leave us a rating and review and email us proof to thespookydarlings@gmail.com, along with your mailing address, and we'll send you some spooky snail mail while supplies last. And if your heart is still mourning that tote bag, may we gently tempt your way toward our merch store at thespookydarlings.printful.me. Treat yourself. You deserve it. Thanks for listening. And as always, stay spooky.